Hello, anyone and everyone listening to this recording at this time. This is the Contemplative Currents podcast by Cher Kurinu, and today would be another readout. I think this is going to be essay 88, and the fourth recording for the podcast. If you're listening to this as a podcast, and this one is called Examining the Illusion of Thoughts, Thinking, and the Non-existent Thinker. That's examining the illusion of thoughts, thinking, and the non-existent thinker. And I subtitled this, "Oh, you thinker, where's your thought? Don't overthink this." So, I put this together because one of the things that fascinates me is the is our collective misunderstanding, or should I say ignorance, of this illusion called thoughts or thinking. Anyway, I would probably have a separate podcast episode on my commentary on that, and just go on to read my article here, this essay in its entirety, for anyone who's reading the article on Substack or who wants to have this as a readout. So here goes. Have you ever sat in the dim electric glow of a theater watching a magician pull off an impossible trick? The air hums with anticipation. The audience, wide-eyed, gasps as the magician seemingly defies the laws of reality. But among the crowd, there are different ways of seeing. Some people surrender to the spectacle, swept away by the illusion, delighting in the mystery, recoiling in awe at what feels dangerously real. Others lean forward in their seats, dissecting the performance, trying to catch the sleight of hand. And then there are those who sit back, utterly convinced that the magician is doing more than just entertainment, that they possess actual supernatural powers. What a magician is the weaver of illusions, and illusions are just effects, they are not what they seem to be. So this is my side comment here. I intentionally put this here because I think that oftentimes the word illusion sounds like something not appearing, like it's not there at all. But really, an illusion is just an effect that is not exactly what it seems to be. More like a lie, if you put it that way. All right, continuing. In the magic show of life, we may begin to see that life in its entirety is an illusion disguised as the magician itself, and vice versa. The entire act, the magician, the stage, the audience, an illusion. In Hinduism, this illusion is called Maya. Christian mystics describe this illusion as the veil that separates humanity from the direct knowledge of God. The illusion in its makeup weaves smaller illusions we call thoughts. And in our attachments to the mind, we lose sense of our awareness, taking ourselves to be our thoughts, taking ourselves to be the thinker. What if the one watching, the supposed thinker of thoughts, is no more real than the rabbit pulled out from a hat? Before we go investigating the thinker, let's go deeper into investigating thoughts. The illusion of thoughts. What is a thought? From your own experience, doesn't it seem to arise from nowhere, totally uncalled, from a silence we cannot name? Where are your thoughts located? Please don't tell me your head, because no one has ever found thoughts in the head. We can all agree that thoughts arise from somewhere within. What is that within? Thoughts dance briefly in the field of awareness and dissolve back into that same silence. You didn't summon them. They arise from forces beyond your control. springing into existence like that weird itch behind your ears. There's no discernible cause, no command from some inner control room or control center. They simply arise, they simply appear. And once a thought arises, it is untouchable. You can observe it, resist it, or follow it, but you cannot alter its form, like trying to reshape a shadow. No amount of effort will make it otherwise. Examine this for yourself. Really, observe a single thought. If you could ever even catch a thought, does it announce its arrival or require your permission? Notice it. One moment there's silence, the next a thought is there, loud or subtle, fleeting or sticky. Did you create it? Did you shape its form or dictate its appearance? And yet these fleeting whispers claim tremendous power. A single thought can drape itself in identity, declaring, "This is who you are." It builds persona from the fabric of memory and imagination, which, by the way, are another form of thought. That's memory is a type of thought. Imagination is also a thought. All right, it builds personas from the fabric of memory and imagination, convincing you that you are the sum of your thoughts. They don't stop at creating identity, they also reinforce them. Like an intricate spider's web, one thought leads to another, each thread weaving a story that about the world, about me, about what's real. At the actual center of this web sits the ultimate illusion, the thinker, another thought that supposedly orchestrates the whole performance. Isn't that crazy? So the thinker, the thought assumes the form of a thinker. It buys its identity from the body and the mind and claims its reality in those forms. If thoughts arise without your active involvement, what does this mean for the thinker? Can the one who claims to think be anything more than an idea itself, a recurring thought about a me that owns all others and things? Through no fault of ours, through no intentional personal sense of agency or collective conscious agreement, our culture perpetuates the belief and persistence and conviction that I am the thinker of these thoughts. We clothe this identity, this thinker, in stories, preferences, and memories. But can the thinker truly be found? Let us peer into the heart of this idea and see whether it holds up to any scrutiny. So pause for a moment and ask yourself, who's thinking these thoughts? Is there truly a you sitting behind the curtains, pulling the strings? Most of us never pause to ask the question. We take the existence of the thinker for granted, as unquestioned as the air we breathe. When we look for the thinker, what do we find? Perhaps a brain, a body, sensations, memories. But these are not the thinker. They are merely objects in our awareness. The idea of a thinker, this me who claims ownership of thoughts, is itself just another thought, a phantom conjured by the mind. It's kind of schizophrenic, isn't it? A thought pretending to think. And when we take this illusion too seriously, it becomes the source of all our suffering. Anxiety, regret, pride arising from that belief that there's a me who owns or controls or who is responsible for these thoughts. Life as the magician's stage. Reality itself is the stage for this grand performance. Most of us are too entranced by the show to see through it. In believing the thoughts that tell us, this is who I am, this is what the world is. We don't realize we're watching a trick unfold. Imagine you're sitting back in the theater again, watching the magician pull off an impossibility after another. Suddenly, you notice something strange. The rabbit disappears before it even touches the hat. The magician's hand flickers like a mirage. You rub your eyes, and the entire scene dissolves. The stage, the audience, the magician, even yourself as the observer, slowly begins to dissolve. This is what happens when you truly see the nature of thoughts. The illusion of the thinker crumbles, and in its place, there is only a vast, still awareness in which everything unfolds. It is in this still awareness that life reveals its profound simplicity. The stage, once cluttered with props and performance, is seen for what it is, an empty space, boundless and open. Thoughts continue to arise, but they no longer carry the weight of reality. They are like echoes in a cave, heard but ungraspable, fading as quickly as they appear. In your experience, can you disprove what I just said? In fact, isn't it funny that we believe that there are recurring thoughts when in fact you just have a thought that claims recurrence? In this scene, you realize that life does not require a performer. It simply unfolds effortlessly without anyone directing the play. And yet, this does not mean life loses its magic. On the contrary, the disappearance of the thinker becomes a deeper, truer wonder. The world becomes vivid, each moment bursting with freshness. The colors, sounds, and sensations of life are no longer filtered through the lens of thought. They are experienced directly, intimately, as if for the first time. The simplicity of a breeze, the rustle of leaves, or the hum of a distant train takes an extraordinary quality, an immediacy that was hidden by the veil of mental interpretation. In seeing through the illusion, you're not left in emptiness, but in fullness. And by the way, the still awareness that remains is not an empty void, it's vibrant, dynamic. It's a dynamic presence. It is the ground of all experience, the silent stage upon which the illusory drama of existence continues to play out. But now, without the illusion of separation, you are no longer the actor on the stage. You are the stage itself, the openness in which all things come and go. And in that realization, the question, who am I, fades. The answer is as vast as the silence in which the question dissolves. Freedom in seeing. When the thinker disappears, something extraordinary happens. Thoughts still arise, but they no longer carry the weight of identity. They are no longer yours. They are like clouds passing through the sky, beautiful, transient, and utterly free. Totally free because they are unstrapped. They are untied to anything. They are causeless. They can't be held or held down. They are totally free. This freedom is not something you achieve. It is what remains when the illusion falls away. Without a thinker, there is no burden of control, no anxiety over what thoughts may come or go. There's only the effortless unfolding of life, a dance without a dancer. In this state of freedom, the mind operates with an ease and clarity that feels almost miraculous, of course, to thought itself. Decisions are made, actions are taken, yet they arise without the strain of deliberation or the tension of ownership. It is as if life itself flows through you, unimpeded by the ego's need to claim credit or assign blame. In truth, this was always the case. There was never any, now life is flowing through you. It just was always flowing, and you're just catching on. A deep intelligence seems to guide this unfolding, one that is far beyond the limited capacity of the personal mind. Is this intelligence now what we call God? Oh, it's not that thoughts cease, rather, they lose their grip. They no longer define or confine. And the beauty of this freedom is in its ordinariness. It is not an ecstatic supernatural experience. It's a quiet return to what has always been present. The hum of existence, the simple joy of breathing, of moving, of being, that's felt without interference. Even challenges, or what we call problems and difficulties, are met with a sense of spaciousness. They pass through you like weather, no longer clinging or dragging you into their storm. This doesn't mean they are not felt. At least from my experience, they're felt even deeper. But then you are able to see their impermanence and pass throughness. This is life unburdened, a seamless flow of presence, and everything is seen for what it truly is: fleeting, ungraspable, and yet profoundly whole. So let's talk about thinking as a process. So what does it mean to be thinking? Thinking is undeniably a process of attention to the movement or flow of thoughts as it strings together images, words, and associations like beads on an invisible thread. By the way, I don't think that they're really images or words or associations. I think these forms are by themselves just thoughts. So we have thoughts that say, I have a thought about an image. I don't know if I'm rabbit holing there, but anyway, let me continue reading. But ask yourself, does this process belong to anyone? Who is thinking, and how are you the one stringing this process? Does the river belong to the banks that shape it, or is it simply a movement, a happening without ownership? So too with thinking. It happens, yet there is no thinker behind it, orchestrating its course. I'm reminded of a story I heard in the Zen tradition about a master teaching archery. A student asks, "How do I hit the target?" The master replies, "Forget the target, forget the bow, forget the archer. When you disappear, the arrow flies true." The student struggles, unable to grasp how the act of shooting can occur without an archer. Over time, through meditation and practice, the student realizes that aiming and hitting are not acts of will, but happen naturally when there's no I trying to control them. A well-documented example of a chess grandmaster experiencing the dissolution of the thinker during play comes from Joshua Waitzkin, a chess prodigy and the subject of the movie Searching for Bobby Fischer. In this book, The Art of Learning, Waitzkin describes a state of flow where the concept of I disappears entirely. While playing, especially in high-stakes matches, Waitzkin recounts entering a mental state or entering a mental space where he no longer felt separate from the game. There's no conscious deliberation or inner dialogue. Moves arise spontaneously, effortlessly, and with precise clarity. The distinction between himself, the chessboard, and the pieces fades. In this state, the game plays itself through him, as though he is merely an instrument for the unfolding of something greater. This also mirrors the concept described by Mihaly Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. I find it difficult to pronounce his name. Um, so his book Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience, is where he uh, talks about this. He says, when someone is deeply immersed in a task, their sense of self dissolves, time warps, thoughts quiet, and actions flow without resistance. For a chess player like Witskin, this is not a rare occurrence, but a necessity for peak performance. The more the eye recedes, the sharper and more intuitive the play becomes. Bobby Fischer and Gary Kasparov have also alluded to similar experiences. Kasparov, in his autobiographical work, speaks of moments where his understanding of the board feels omnipresent, as though the moves arise from a deep well of intuition, bypassing conscious thought. Fischer, known for his intense focus, describes matches where the boundary between his mind and the chessboard dissolves, and his hand simply moves the pieces as though guided by unseen force. The recession of the I, in my own experience, happens from seeing that it is only made of thought. O ye thinker, where is your thought? So, what a profound revelation it is to see that the thinker does not exist. Thoughts, thinking, and the idea of a thinker are just like clouds or like waves, temporary expressions of something far vaster. In this recognition, a great freedom arises. Without a thinker, there's no burden of control. Thoughts may come and go, but they no longer bind you to their content. You are not the captive of your thinking, but the spaciousness in which all thinking unfolds. So, O ye thinker, where is your thought? Where is this you who claims ownership of the mind's workings? Look closely, and you'll find nothing, no thinker, no magician, no audience. And yet, in that nothing, everything is revealed. The thoughts continue, the show goes on, but the illusion has been seen through. Life no longer feels like a trick, but an unending, spontaneous wonder, an ending, spontaneous mystery. This is the ultimate magic, the discovery that the thinker was never there, and that what remains, this infinite, silent awareness, was always waiting to be seen, nothing to be achieved or grasped. It is the simple truth hidden in plain sight, as close as your next breath, as fleeting as your next thought. O ye thinker, where is your thought? Nowhere and everywhere. For the absence of the thinker is the presence of the infinite. In the absence, thoughts no longer belong to anyone. They're simply the music of life, playing freely in the silent theater of being. What mystery! What history! Thanks, y'all. Grace and peace.